Alright, now that we know what the basic structure of a module is, let's go ahead and start scaffolding our own. And when you're working with Pyro, you can actually scaffold the module itself, its classes, and its overall structure, its controllers, at the same time as scaffolding your database structure. So to get started, let's hop over into our terminal window and create an add-on using the make add-on command. And I'm just going to run PHP artisan make add-on, and I'm going to provide the dot namespace of my desired add-on. So in this case, I'm going to make it an anomaly add-on, and I'm going to create a module, and the module is going to be called videos. Alright, let's go see what that did. If you take a look at your add-ons directory, you'll see it created, if you haven't already got one, a folder for your application reference and the vendor directory that you specified, and we've got the basics of a module right here. We've got those four directories, the four common things that we mentioned in the past video: the migrations, the resources, your source folder, and a composer.json file. And if we take a look at that, this is already done up for us with auto loading. The source directory already contains a service provider and the videos module. We've got a basic resources directory, and we've got a simple migration going on. So with that said, let's continue scaffolding for now. The next thing we want to do is start making streams, and these are basically streams are kind of like the sections, even though they're not necessarily related. Usually when you think of a module, you want to go into a videos module, and let's say we want to see videos. We also want to see a series maybe, and we also want to see different categories that these videos can go in. So let's go ahead and create those streams now. If we hop back over into our terminal window, and again we're going to be running PHP artisan, and we're going to make a stream this time around, and we're going to provide the plural slug of the desired stream. So in this case it's going to be videos, and we use a plural because we consider it a collection of videos, and then the model will be singular in this case. So it's a collection of videos and then a single video. Just when we create things, we define it as plural, and it'll handle the rest for us. And then we also want to define the add-on that we want to put this stream in. In this case, again, it's videos. You can use either the slug or the full dot namespace here. Okay, so let's go back and take a look at what happened. Nothing at first glance, but if you open up the migrations directory, you'll see that it created a videos stream migration for us. And the naming is just following a simple pattern, same for the fields one. And if we look at the source directory, we'll see that it created a video namespace for us, and this one's a little bit more impressive. This has our basic contracts in here, our interfaces. We have a form, a table, and we've also got the basic services that any entry can provide out of the box. So let's go ahead and create the other ones now. Let's see, we also want to create series, and we want to create categories. Excellent. And if we hop back over, we see that's already created those, and it's made all of our services singular, which is kind of nice. So the next thing we want to do is define our database structure. And what we're doing with the database structure using streams, we'll want to define the columns as fields, and then the field types define how the data is input and extracted from the column. So how it goes in, how it comes out, all the formatting and presenting and everything in between there is done with the field type. So if we take a look at this fields migration and we open her up, this is where we would define all of the fields for this particular namespace. And we can add more later, but since we're developing, we're going to try and stuff as many as we can right out of the gate into this migration to keep things nice and clean. So we'll need a video title, and because all we need to do for this particular field is define what field type it is, we can just do that. Anomaly dot field type dot text. We're going to use the text field type, and this again is the dot namespace of that particular add-on. You can also just provide text However, this gets a little sketchy if you don't have if text is not unique across all add-ons. So it's best in this case to define the full .namespace. We will also need a description, and for this particular one we will use a text area field type, and then I want a slug to put up in the URI when we're viewing a video or a category or a series, and for that I'm going to call it slug, and I'll define this field as an array because we have a little bit more to define here. This is going to be a slug field type, and I'm going to pass along a little bit of configuration here, and you can find available configuration and documentation for each field type. In this case I want it to be a hyphen instead of an underscore, and I want to slugify automatically the title. So as we type into the title, it will automatically slugify it for us. Let's see, what else do I want to do? Let's add a poster, and this will be just kind of like a poster image for series and categories, and we'll use a file field type, and you can also define some configuration, for example, for file field types to restrict folders to upload or select files from. In this case I want full reign. I want to be able to do whatever I want, so I'm just going to leave it like this. The next thing we want to do is we're going to want to relate a video to a series, and I'd also like to tag a video with multiple categories if I choose. So let's go ahead and create those relationship field types now. Let's create one called series, and this is a relationship field type, and the configuration for this one is the related model, and in this case it's going to be the series model. And I also want to, this is going to present itself by default as a drop down, so I want to define the key and value here just to kind of demonstrate how some of this configuration goes. I think actually I'll only use the title. Let me look up documentation real quick. Docs and field types, relationship, configuration. So key name, I want title name. The title name, and we'll define this field on the stream later, is going to be title. And the key name we can leave because, as you can see, it defaults to null and it'll pick up the key name automatically off the stream. So that's set up, and now I also want to define multiple categories, and so for that we will define a categories field, and it will be a multiple field type, and then we'll change the category model. I want to import the video one here. Great. And then again, the category, actually let's use name for category. Category title sounds kind of weird, so let's create a name field type, or a name field for category name, just to make it proper. Okay, so I think this about does it for the fields that we need. Let's go ahead and hop back over to our migrations and define the videos stream. And the videos stream, I want it to be translatable, and you must have the stream translatable if you plan on defining translatable fields. If you have translatable fields but the stream is not translatable, the fields will not be translatable. You can also define a title column here, and this will automatically be used for relationships and things. It's just kind of a good thing to have around, a good thing to define. Let's do title column, and we'll use title in this case. And we will want the name, the description, and the slug. We'll move that up here. And we'll also want the poster. Is that what I called it? Or did I add? Yes, poster. And let's see, the name is going to be required. That's going to be translatable. And this is not where you would define rules like custom or your Laravel validation rules. This is only going to be required, and then you can also, for example, do unique. And this is more related to database structure and indexes rather than the validation, although it does add to validation during forms. If it's required here, it's required in the database, and it also adds the required validation rule to your form, for example. Same with unique. So I want the name to be required and translatable, and I want the description to be required and translatable, and the slug is required and it must be unique. And then we have a poster field up there just floating around. So let's go ahead and take this and duplicate it for our series. I want this to be translatable too. And let's go ahead and define the title column just because it's a good habit to get into. Okay, copy this over. And then lastly, the category stream. Again, this is translatable. And I'm going to go ahead and, ooh, good call here though. So this is name, and these other ones I intended for it to be title. So let's update that now. And let's close what we've got here. So we've got our fields assigned, we've got some streams defined. Let's go ahead and try and install this add-on. We're going to use PHP Artisan, and we're going to add-on, install, and then define the .namespace or slug of the add-on. And just as a heads up, only modules and extensions are installable. Okay, so we installed OK. And real quick, let's take a look at our database. And we will look for videos, and this is going to use the namespace of the add-on that we created, followed by the slug of the stream. So we've got categories here, and you'll see we only have slug because it's a translatable stream, and we have the name and description here because those are translatable. And same thing with series. The videos, however, we do have a poster ID, which is going to be the file ID, and then the slug. And we have video translations down here for the title and description. And then we also have video categories, and this is a pivot, oops, which is actually dirty from leftover from previous videos. We also have a pivot table here for that categories multiple field that we assigned. So it's pretty cool. We've already got our scaffolding already set up and ready to go. You know, it takes a lot of the work out of that part of the job. So going back over here, aside from our database and our overall kind of data structure, like not only are we defining, okay, yeah, we have a poster field, but we're defining like, hey, this poster field uses the file field type, and there's a ton of awesome stuff that comes along with just using the file field type rather than a text or a text area. It defines the UI, it defines how it's stored, it defines filters available in the tables, and it defines how the data is extracted from the database and how it's able to be used via API. So there's already a ton of stuff that we've already defined with just a little bit of work. We also have full namespaces with collections, criteria, model, observers, presenters, repositories, and routers all ready to go. And while we can delete some of this stuff that we won't need, it's awesome to have it already built out and ready for us to just kind of fill in the blanks and kind of fill in the details of what we need to get started. So that's the overall gist of how to scaffold your add-on. From here, what we'll end up doing is taking a look at the front end and building out some forms and some tables. We'll take a look at the module class and start building our sections, and then we'll also start looking into how to translate this module so that you can ship it out later.